We have finished class detection in Navisworks, duplicate check, and version check. Let's learn clearance check now using Navisworks Manage. There's an instance that an MEP designer will require to have a safe distance between MEP elements, for example, a distance of 300 mm away from each other. So for tutorial and learning purposes, I have created a very small project to show minimum clearances that an MEP element should have. So let's all convert the Revit file to NWC file format. Now go to Navis, New, and append all the created NWC file. Select all, then open. Let's add test. Let's test first electrical versus piping. Add test again. Ducting versus piping. What we will do next is to select the cable tray and the pipe in the window and see in the selection tree what will highlight to determine if they have passed the clearance check of 300 mm. So select this selection tree, select this cable tray, and see what highlights. So this is what highlights. Go here in the electrical, select this, and then select this pipe, and then select this here in Navis. On the selection B, go to Fire, Pipes, select this, and then run test. So after running the test, Navis have shown clearance discrepancy between the cable tray and piping. In this case, we want to resolve this by moving the cable tray. So select the cable tray and select switchback command. And Navis will direct you to the Revit model. You need to link the firefighting Revit model. Then in Revit, to measure the distance between the cable tray and the piping, press Tab in your keyboard and measure from the edge line of the pipe up to the bottom line of the cable tray. But as you notice, there is no snap point and we cannot perform the measurement. So what you can do, escape and press VG in your keyboard, go to cable tray and uncheck the drop and raise. Apply OK and proceed with the measurement. Because this is below the minimum, you need to adjust this to satisfy the minimum distance that the design or MEP manager have set to 300 mm. So select the cable tray, set this to 300. And then before we create another NWC file, you need to save this file as NWF. Save as NWF, save. new, and then go back to Revit, set this to 3D, Navisworks, yes, switch back. So what we will do next is to open the NWF file. So select this update all. So now Navis have detected that the considered clash a while ago has been resolved. So this one now is resolved. So now let's do the same exercise. Select this pipe. In the selection tree, this is this pipe. Go here and then select. Go to and select this pipe and then select this ducting, and then in the selection tree it's showing the last rectangular duct. So in this selection B, go to mechanical level 1, duct, rectangular duct, and select this last one. Clearance 300 millimeter, and then run test. So now Navis is also showing that there is a one clash saying that it did not pass the 300 millimeter clearance. So in this case, we need to resolve one of them. It's either the ducting or the firefighting pipe. So for example, we will try to resolve the ducting. So select this duct and then switch back. And then Navis will open the Revit model of this. Make sure that the firefighting is linked. Add the Revit file. Select the fire Revit model. Open. Open one section. Modify. Let's measure. Press tab to select. And then the same, this is 183. So in order to resolve this, to have at least 300 millimeter clearance between the pipe and the ducting, so you need at least an additional of 117 millimeter. So this should be 3083. Same here, 3083. So now we have resolved the distance between the piping and the ducting. So save this, and again, before we create another NWC file, we need to save this. Select new and open and load the NWF file. Open, then go back to Revit file, set this to 3D, replace, switch back. Now go back to Navis, open and load the NWF file, update all. Now the clash between the ducting and the firefighting piping has been resolved. As you can see here, resolve 1 and resolve 1.